I didn't buy this lakefront house to fight anyone. I bought it so my wife's memory could live in peace. Her rose garden wasn't decoration. It was 15 years of love, grief, and quiet mornings. And in less than 1 hour, my neighbor destroyed every single rose and told me I should be grateful. That was the moment I stopped being a grieving widower and became a man who measures everything. Because when someone crosses the wrong line, the line doesn't move, they do. This is not just an HOA story. This is what happens when entitlement. I bought this lakefront retirement home in Ohio, thinking I would spend my quiet years honoring my late wife by taking care of her memorial rose garden. I imagined peaceful mornings, coffee on the dock, and watching the sun rise over the water. What I did not expect was a new neighbor who decided my life needed to be improved without my permission. Her name was Sloane Kensington. She was a pharmaceutical sales rep from Columbus with a loud voice, expensive workout clothes, and a white BMW with a vanity plate that read SLO 1. From the moment she moved in, she acted like she owned the entire street. She complained to the HOA about my moving truck. She filed noise reports because I made coffee early in the morning. She even joined the HOA board within weeks and started calling herself the Neighborhood Improvement Coordinator. But none of that prepared me for what happened next. One morning, while I was at the grocery store, Sloane had her contractors bulldoze my wife Martha's entire rose garden. 27 rose bushes, 15 years of love and care. Some of those roses came from Martha's grandmother's garden in Kentucky, rare heirloom varieties you can't replace, gone in a single morning. When I got back, the smell of diesel fuel was mixed with crushed roses. The soil Martha had carefully enriched over the years was torn apart. Broken pottery markers, smashed planters, and the small bench where she used to sit were destroyed. I ran outside in my bathrobe and told the contractor to stop. Sloane stood there in expensive athleisure and waved me off like I was nothing. She told me the garden was ugly and said she was improving property values. She claimed the old owner verbally allowed her to expand. I showed her my property survey. She laughed. The contractor kept digging. I called the police. The officer arrived, looked at her and then at me, and said it was a civil issue. He suggested we work it out like neighbors. That night, I found Martha's garden journal. Page after page of her handwriting, notes about pruning, winter protection, sketches of future flowers, 15 years of planning. I sat there holding that journal, smelling the dirt she loved, and realized something important. I had worked 30 years in quality control at Akron Steelworks. Precision was my life. Measurements mattered, documentation mattered, and if someone crossed a line, you proved it with facts. I installed security cameras the very next weekend. 4 cameras with timestamps and motion detection. Within days, they caught Sloane's contractors dumping construction trash on my land. Concrete bags, broken tiles, paint cans. I filed a report with video proof. Then I noticed something else. Her new deck and hot tub were clearly crossing my property line. I pulled out my survey and measured carefully. 23 feet into my land, almost 3,000 square feet. Her entire hot tub was on my property. When I confronted her, she laughed again. She said surveys can be wrong and told me Martha would want me to move forward. That was the moment my grief turned into focus. I hired a licensed surveyor. It cost money, but I needed official proof.
While waiting, I researched public records and discovered something shocking. Sloan never owned that land. The subdivision had errors going back decades. The survey confirmed everything. Her deck, hot tub, pool area, and driveway were on my property. All of it. My attorney explained Ohio law. I could force removal, I could charge rent, or I could claim ownership of what she built. She had no adverse possession rights. Time was on my side. Then I learned she was broke. Divorce records showed she owed her ex-husband hundreds of thousands. She was using my land to raise her property value. She doubled down instead of backing off. False noise complaints, towing my truck, threatening letters from lawyers. She even tried bribing the surveyor. All of it was recorded. When her contractor moved my survey markers, that crossed into felony territory. That's when I stopped reacting and started planning. She thought power meant bullying. I knew power meant precision. And I was...
While Sloan was busy threatening and filing false reports, I was building something. Something very clear. Something no one could argue with. I designed a 6-foot cedar fence that could rise straight out of the ground using hydraulics. Quiet, smooth, precise, controlled by my phone. Every post would rise exactly on the surveyed property line. A friend from the steel plant helped me design it. Another contractor installed it while Sloan was away. Underground systems, backup lines, hidden controls, fully legal. She never noticed. Then she made the worst mistake of all. Late one night, my cameras caught her sneaking onto my property with garden shears. She tried cutting what she thought were hydraulic lines. I called the police. She was cited for trespassing. 2 nights later, she came back with a sledgehammer. She attacked a decoy control box for nearly an hour. Every hit was recorded, every swing another crime. When the box finally broke, it triggered the system. At 3:24 a.m., my fence rose from the ground. Posts came up through the middle of her deck, straight through her hot tub. Water rushed everywhere. Her luxury setup split perfectly in half. Neighbors woke up, phones came out, videos went viral. The police arrived to find her standing in floodwater holding a sledgehammer while my fence stood tall on my property line. She claimed I trapped her. I showed the survey. At the HOA meeting the next day, I presented everything: the encroachment, the illegal Airbnb rentals, the destroyed memorial garden, the bribery attempt, the trespassing. The vote was unanimous. She had 90 days to remove everything from my land. She settled instead, paid back rent, paid damages, paid for the fence, paid for Martha's garden. She moved out 6 months later. I used the money to rebuild the garden and start the Martha's Memorial Garden Fund. We help older neighbors maintain their yards now. The roses bloom again. The cardinal still visits. My fence stands quietly, measuring itself every week. This is HOA Prime Stories, where bullies learn that property lines are real, grief deserves respect, and precision always wins. If you've ever faced an HOA nightmare or a neighbor who crossed the line, share your story, leave a comment, and subscribe to HOA Prime Stories. More true Some people think power comes from money. Some think it comes from lawyers. Some think it comes from bullying others until they give up. But real power comes from knowing the rules and having the patience to let someone break every one of them. My wife's garden is back. The roses bloom again, and the line between right and wrong is now impossible to ignore. This is HOA Prime Stories, where entitled neighbors meet real consequences, and property lines are not suggestions.
If you've ever dealt with an HOA nightmare or a neighbor who crossed the line, leave your story in the comments. Like the video, subscribe, and remember, measure twice, because some lessons rise